This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
We all know of Donald Trump's conduct over the course of the last 4 years while president. We witnessed every interaction that was public. We heard of the reporting of some of the private behavior. Anyone who's clear-eyed and watched and witnessed and experienced the presidency of Donald Trump knows that he was a traitor to the United States. He acted in a traitorous manner. Treasonous, I would say. And further, and more importantly, and more dangerous, is if he acted like that in public, with the world's eyes upon him, how did he act in private? Remember that moment in Helsinki when he stood shoulder to shoulder with the leader of a hostile foreign power and took that person's side? He took Vladimir Putin's side over the 16 or 17 different independent intelligence agencies within the infrastructure of the intelligence gathering apparatus of the United States. He took Putin's word over all of them relative to Putin's interference in the 2016 election. Remember this moment.
People came to me, Dan Coates came to me and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
So if he's willing to do that in public, on a world stage, what is he saying and doing in private conversations with Putin? Well, Politico just wrote an article kind of as a reminder that all of those calls, all of those interactions, the ones that we have record of, because several times he either confiscated the notes of the interpreter in the room, the assistant in the room, the American, or he would go into meetings without any American at all and leave it to the Russians to record the meeting, to chronicle the experience. Well, Politico's writing an article, like I said, kind of as a reminder that now that Biden is in office, they have access to all of that, and they are doing a review to find out what kind of damage Donald Trump could have done. I'm going to read a little bit from it, but I would push the Biden administration a little bit further and say that we need to pursue criminal charges if Donald Trump acted illegally. If he acted in a criminal manner, he is now subject to prosecution. The article is entitled, "Trump hid his call with Putin. Now Biden has access to them. What was said between the two leaders is a great mystery, one that advisors to the current president say is imperative to find out. It is a national security priority to find out what Trump said to Putin over his 4 years in office," said one former national security official who is close to the new president. "Some things, like what happened in some face-to-face meetings where no American translator or note-taker was present, may never be fully known. But I would be very surprised if the new national security team were not trying to access the call records." Trump closely guarded his private conversations with foreign leaders while in office, going as far as to have some hidden in the National Security Council's top-secret code word system to limit staffers and even cabinet members' access and prevent leaks. Readouts of their calls would often come from the Kremlin first or through Trump's Twitter feed. But while the calls were not recorded, aides were typically still on the line and taking notes of what was said. The resulting loose transcripts are known as memcons, or memorandums of conversation. Trump went to particularly great lengths to keep his in-person conversations with the Russian leader private, from confiscating his interpreter's notes to foregoing American translators and note-takers altogether in their meetings. That desire for secrecy has extended even past his time in office. One former Trump official argued last week that records of Trump's conversations with Putin, which often lasted an hour or more, should not be made available to his successor. Because why? Why would a president's communications with the foreign leader not be, as a matter of diplomacy and national security, and as a matter of knowing what path to go forward with, why would they not be allowed, why would they not be available to a current sitting president? The things that Eisenhower said to foreign leaders should be available to Joe Biden, just as the things that George W. Bush said were available to Donald Trump. Former presidents do not have executive privilege. Might I remind the Trump bootlickers who may be watching. Donald Trump is no longer the president of the United States. He's a private citizen, subject to prosecution, subject to investigation, subject to indictment, subject to conviction, criminal conviction. These are not the only calls that are in question this particular week. Reuters, I'm going to read from a Reuters article, but this is not just Reuters reporting. The state of Georgia, the Office of Secretary of State, is now open to probe an investigation into the call that Donald Trump conducted with Secretary of State Brad Raffensberger, where Donald Trump was attempting to overturn the election results in Georgia. Reuters headline, Georgia Secretary of State's office launches probe into Trump election phone call. Georgia's Secretary of State's office opened a probe on Monday into former U.S. President Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the state's 2020 election results, a step that could lead to a criminal investigation by state and local authorities. Legal experts say that Trump's phone call may have violated at least 3 state criminal election laws: conspiracy to commit election fraud, criminal solicitation to commit election fraud, and intentional interference with performance of election duties. The felony and misdemeanor violations are punishable by fines or imprisonment. He could face 1 to 3 years in prison for what he did, if they have what it takes to actually move forward with prosecution and dispense with this idea of unity for the nation. We need to move on and heal. Healing will come when there are consequences. Healing will come when there are repercussions. Healing will come when it is transmitted to everyone, broadcast to the world that justice matters, that justice is blind. That no matter your position, no matter your wealth, no matter your power, no matter your influence, you will face legal consequences for your illegal activities. This should come as no surprise, though. A series of phone calls where Donald Trump is acting criminally, treasonously. Remember Ukraine. The phone call with Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. The quid pro quo. Yeah, I'll sell you the missiles, but I need you to do me a favor. He even had his emissaries. Rudy Giuliani, who is now in deep trouble under federal investigation. Time magazine got a hold of a transcript of a 40-minute telephone call with Rudy Giuliani and Ukrainian officials, government officials, pressuring them using mob-like subtle language to get them to investigate Joe Biden, hoping to secure Donald Trump's win in this past election. Time magazine, Ukraine releases shock call with Giuliani as Trump's second impeachment trial begins. Quote, let these investigations go forward, Rudy Giuliani told the presidential headquarters in Kyiv, Ukraine, his voice turning impatient. Get someone to investigate this. On the other end of the line, hunched over a speakerphone, 2 Ukrainian officials listened in disbelief as Giuliani demanded probes that could help his client, then President Donald Trump, win another term in office. The 40-minute call, a transcript of which was obtained by Time, provides the clearest picture yet of Giuliani's attempts to pressure the Ukrainians on Trump's behalf. The president's personal lawyer toggled between veiled threats, be careful, he warned repeatedly, and promises to help improve Ukraine's relationship with Trump. My only motive, he said, it isn't to get anybody in trouble who doesn't deserve to be in trouble, Giuliani said. For our country's sake and your country's sake, we need to get all these facts straight. He added, we fix them and we put it behind us. Rudy Giuliani, another traitor. Another person working in opposition to the interests of the United States. A country to which he swore an oath at one point to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And then he ended up being a domestic threat to that very Constitution. There are calls right now to have his license revoked. He is under investigation by the federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. And that will be moving along swiftly. But this is just yet another reminder that while we're going through Donald Trump's second impeachment trial for very real, very serious charges that should be criminally prosecuted, incitement of an insurrection, maybe the most serious thing he did, all these other things that I'm talking about also need to be kept in mind. Donald Trump needs to be held accountable. And when reached for comment, everybody within the Joe Biden administration is keeping it a little close to the vest. That's fine. But do not think that at the end of a 4-year term of Joe Biden, if Donald Trump is not held to account, there will be explaining that needs to be done. A valid, decent reason for not prosecuting Donald Trump. And the reason of unity or healing or moving forward isn't good enough. Donald Trump jeopardized the health and welfare of not just the nation as a state, but of actual Americans. While a pandemic raged, almost 500,000 Americans needlessly died directly due to his inaction. Healing and moving on isn't good enough. Not in my estimation. What about you? I'd love to know what you think. Give me a call. Leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Email me daily@dollemore.com. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for engaging with my content. If my content just shows up in your YouTube feed and you're not subscribed, take the extra step and beep, click the subscribe button. What am I doing? Anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you. I would ask you, please consider supporting my work here on YouTube for as little as $2 a month. You can click that join button and become a channel member, helping support independent news analysis and calling everybody out for their BS. Follow me on social media. I'd love to connect with you there. I love you guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes. I'll see you next time. Until then, be genuine, and please take care of one another.